Hey, howdy and happy day. A 12-year-old boy who lives in Great Torrington, Devon, recently was diagnosed, is that be the right word, as having the highest IQ ever. Wow, he's 2 points above Einstein. This kid, 12 years of age, he's got an IQ of 162, and he says, I love football and I want to play football more than I want to do anything else. That's pretty amazing, you know. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a fella I met here recently, and he wasn't very bright. We spoke for a while, and he kind of seemed dumb as a stick. And then a Mercedes came by and picked him up, and he said, "That's my wife." And I finally figured it out. But I asked him for confirmation. I said, "What do you do for a living?" He said, "I'm a politician." I thought, hey, there you go, high net worth, low IQ. But that 12-year-old boy, we'll be hearing more about him, I'm sure. In Canada, you have the government under the Prime Minister of Canada that owns, or directly or indirectly through grants and subsidies, controls certainly and owns most of the press. They control the message, they manage the message, and they tell people what to think. It's kind of a Hitler thing. Way back when, I think it was in the 1920s, probably late 20s, people didn't have radios, hardly anyone. They couldn't afford them. So Hitler said, hey, I'll fix that. He gave every house a free radio. But then, of course, he also owned the broadcasting, right? So left, I should say. And he manipulated all of the news. And Trudeau is doing that. So it's kind of interesting to see when one of the press companies, Black Press, they own 100 and some newspapers in rural areas primarily. It's interesting to see how they went broke. How do you go broke when you're spending other people's money? Last year, they were flirting with $1 million of government subsidies, and it's the same every year. I mean, here's more money, and here's more money, but for some reason, they went broke. How do you do that again? So whoever buys them, they'll have the same experience. They'll get money from the government. Experience being that, maybe not going broke so much. So that's what the government does with the taxpayers' money. We have to control the message. I think every person who works in the press gets about, I think it's $80,000 a year by way of subsidy. These are people that work for the large media companies. And me, I think if I'm not the only one, I'm certainly, there's not many of us. I'm considered media. I'm certainly not in the normal sense of the word, but I've never taken a check from anybody, and nor will I, because I'm not interested in that kind of stuff. But keeping with candidates, let me tell you about Trump. 90% of all Canadians used to say they hated Trump, and they had all kinds of reasons that weren't true, but that was because of Trudeau's press. And he told them that you must not like this guy's policies particularly, but we'll go after him. Interestingly enough, that hasn't stuck, because with all that's going on with Trump, Canadians are paying more attention on the policy side of it. And recently, a poll showed this, that Canadian people, Canadian voters, if they had the opportunity, would vote 33% in favor of Trump and 31% in favor of the prime mistake that they already have. The highest support for Trump was in Alberta, where he garnered 42% of the support. That's pretty darn interesting. I kind of like to hear that. Feds, they put in laws. Alberta, speaking of them, they're dealing with this. They're trying to manage their own province, but it's difficult, of course, because the feds have put in so many laws that don't allow you to use your oil or to do this or that. And as a result, the richest province in the country is becoming the poorest. I want to share a story with them about government, bad laws. Bad laws should not be obeyed. Oh, I'm causing an uprising. No, I'm just telling you some historic stuff. Martin Luther King said that. He said bad laws shouldn't be obeyed. And then he took his million people and they went for a march because there was a law that said he couldn't do that, and he did it, and he changed things, right? So bad laws shouldn't be obeyed. I mean, think of yourself, think of me. I'm going through a school zone or past a school zone. That's a bad example. 50 miles an hour is the speed limit. And I have a friend in the back seat who just had a heart attack and he might die. He's got to get to the hospital. I'm going to go 120 miles an hour. I broke the law. There are those who would stay at 50. There are those. And when you get to the hospital, the patient's dead. So, don't obey all the laws all of the time. If there's a good reason, and I think governments kind of need to maybe look at some good reasons. CNN, I watched them which is kind of hard to do sometimes, but I watched them with regards to the caucus stuff in Iowa and New Hampshire, and I was kind of impressed with them. Now we're back to the old stuff. They're now being themselves again. But here's a story. They say gas prices in the U.S., are this much, but in California they're that much, but that's okay because they have good reason. And they go on to talk about cleaning the air and everything else. The only reason, it's not a good one, that California has higher gas prices is because they have those politicians with lower IQs and higher net worths. That's what's going on. I mean, it's silly. It's all about politics. And they've got so many rules that only apply to them and to no one else with regards to other states. Hey, all you voters, fix this, will you? See ya.